SAARC governments or stakeholders or civil society actors or all other actors and agencies need to debate further on different issues concerned with the seed bank, because it's a very complicated area of work which involves a great amount of scientific knowledge, which involves a great amount of the need to promote technology or apply technologies, and which also needs to address the complicated scenarios created by the global intellectual property rights regime, as well as the controversies associated with biotechnology. So all these demand South Asia to seriously consider having a kind of a system where seed bank is created so as to benefit the real farmers. And this is very much challenging, particularly because, as I mentioned, there are so many complications associated with this subject. It's not just a matter of doing the export of rice or importing rice. It's associated with seed, which can be pirated, which can be used for different purposes, and without even giving due recognition or compensation to the countries supplying the seeds or owning the seeds. So, based on this, what I personally consider, because since, let me just also make this a point that as per the decision by the SAARC, now the government of Nepal, because the government of Nepal was the one who submitted this proposal in the SAARC summit. So, government of Nepal is now has been tasked to develop a proposal for the consideration of the seed bank in the region. So, the government of Nepal is now working. Maybe our other colleagues from Nepal might also like to share some recent updates with regard to that. But then the thing is, now when I interacted with some of the government people in Nepal, like since they were developing the proposal, then the idea was not that much clear. Like SAARC made a decision, it said that we need to have a seed bank, and then let's conceptualize this issue. But then what type of seed bank are we talking about? Is it about collecting all the seeds from the region and then giving it to storage for conservation? Or is it about also promoting research in the region, in the area of seeds, so that better quality seeds or seeds that adapt to climate change, flood resistant seeds type? I mean, like, what type of bank are we trying to conceptualize? So it was not very much clear. So based on that, what we personally think, because we have also been working in this area in SAWTEE, we have certain recommendations for SAARC governments with regard to particularly this aspect, that in this particular decade, let's make a 10-year plan of action or something like that, they make a commitment that they will be moving beyond conservation. This seed bank is not just about conserving seeds. So there are certain institutional aspects that I would like to highlight. For example, this seed bank, can it operate as a regional center, as a South Asian center for promoting conservation and exchange of genetic resources? That is one aspect. The other aspect, can this seed bank work as a regional center for seed research and development also, so that this is promoted between countries? Third, can this seed bank act as a regional center for seed exchange and use by creating and strengthening a network of national seed banks as well as community seed banks? This is very much important, because if you talk with farmers managing community seed banks in India or say in Nepal, then due to all these IPR considerations and benefit sharing complicated issues, they are not officially being able to exchange seeds among farmers in different countries due to all these complex policies and rules. They are earlier, and when I talked to them, they said that around 1985 or 1980s, it used to be quite free. I mean, like, they used to experiment many of the rice varieties in Bangladesh, even our National Agriculture Research Council. But then all these things are not happening now. So, can this center work as a network of national seed banks as well as community seed banks, so that seed exchange is promoted also among farmers in the region, farmer-to-farmer exchange programs? And then the fourth one, can this seed bank also act as a regional center for producing and taking stocks of quality seeds? And then the fifth one is, can this seed bank also act as a regional center for seed information sharing and capacity building? If you look at the level of awareness in the area of seed management in the region, then mostly I see that it is confined among a group of scientific people or technical people, but then mostly civil society actors and agencies are not into its technical details or aspects, and which I think is now a major challenge, particularly since climate change impact is very much rapid in the sector. So based on this, what we can say is that South Asia must find operational modalities and institutional issues in relation to managing this seed bank as per their decision in a multidimensional way, where it can work as centers in different capacities. But then, having said that, I also understand that there are challenges. For example, how to manage resources that is required for conceptualizing and implementing all these centers. And then there are obviously institutional mechanisms and operational modalities, which is very much complicated, because there are trade rules, there are biodiversity rules, there are IPR rules, different rules coming into play into the operationalization of the seed bank in the region. And then there are certain issues also, like, for example, when we say a SAARC seed bank in the region, then whether or not to make it a decentralized system, or is it a centralized system, one infrastructure somewhere, a premises, this is the SAARC seed bank, or it is a kind of a decentralized system with national seed banks in South Asian countries operating with certain regional guidelines so as to promote seed exchange in the region. Similarly, we also need to look into the aspect of its linkage with the SAARC food bank, like how it can be linked with the SAARC food bank. Just having different banks in the region is not going to solve the problem. We need to also see the institutional coordination between these different banks that SAARC governments are talking about in the present context. And also try to see its linkage with the different international treaties, because, for example, there is an international treaty called International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, which also talks about promoting exchange of planting materials, genetic resources globally. It has a multilateral system. So when SAARC governments have made this decision on the seed bank, so what will be its linkage with that multilateral system? How is it going to complement that system? Or whether South Asia wants to see it as a separate mechanism just for South Asia and not trying to link it with the multilateral system. So these aspects need to be further debated and discussed. And also, when we talk about its operational modalities, what type of seeds or what type of banking of seeds is it going to deal with? It's just about modern varieties, or private sector developed varieties, or it is also about local varieties, local germplasms. And also, when we talk about seed bank and its trade, then obviously sanitary and phytosanitary measures, how to certify seeds for exchange and then trade in the region, and then how to liberalize, obviously, seed trade of seeds in the region. So these are some of the complicated issues. So without addressing these, I don't think there will be a kind of clear framework for the development of operational modalities of this type of bank, in which the government of Nepal is presently working to support the idea of having a seed bank in South Asia. So now, let's talk about some opportunities, though we may sound too South-centric, but then I think that civil society, it will be in the interest of SAARC, or it will be in the interest of governments to also engage civil society in all this process, including farmers groups, technical groups and governments, to generate and share resources, because resources is a major concern. I understand that also as per my interaction with some of the government officials. As well as engage civil society in developing institutional mechanisms and operational modalities, because there are a number of civil society organizations in the region which have been actively working in the area of seed management and which have been managing community seed banks already in the region. So let's gather their experiences and then try to see how institutional mechanisms or its operational modalities can be developed. And now, just to share with you there is a new program of SAWTEE and Kathmandu being launched since this October, which is a regional program, South Asian regional program on trade, climate change and food security. And this particular project has a major component to work in this particular area, like how SAARC governments need to find mechanisms for the operationalization of the seed bank. So, so with this information, I would like to also request you that SAWTEE is also seeking cooperation and collaboration with all stakeholders and governments alike in developing concrete operational modalities and institutional mechanisms for a regional seed bank in South Asia. Thank you very much.